Hey everybody, this is Fred Richani of TSC News here to review New Year's Revolution 2005. And I'll be reviewing all the New Year's Revolution pay-per-views because New Year's Eve, New Year's Day 2016 is right around the corner, so I figured what better way to celebrate the new year than by reviewing one of the more awkward and obscure WWE pay-per-view series. So this is New Year's Revolution 2005. This took place January 9th of that year at the Coliseo in Puerto Rico, San Juan, the first ever WWE pay-per-view on Puerto Rican soil. And this pay-per-view was headlined by an Elimination Chamber match for the vacant WWE World Heavyweight Championship. I should note at this time, this was a Raw-only pay-per-view. This was during the brand extension era, when they actually kept the brands and the wrestlers of the brand separate for the most part. So it was Triple H taking on Edge, taking on Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, Batista, and Randy Orton for the vacant title. The Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels, who was a rival of Triple H's, was a special guest referee. And this was a one-match show, so let's go over the main match that sold the whole show. And keep in mind, back in the day, this was a full pay-per-view priced event. It was not $9.99. It was not free $99. And frankly speaking, I don't really think at the time I got my money's worth as a fan, but the main event was memorable. So leading up to this match, Triple H was the world champion. He was dominant for a couple years. He's been the leader of Evolution now for about 2 years. And he had a match with Edge and Chris Benoit. Edge and Benoit pinned him at the same time. Very reminiscent, actually, of the Breakdown 1998 main event between Steve Austin, Undertaker, and Kane, which you could also watch on the WWE Network. And the title was held up. So Triple H, Edge, Benoit, Jericho, Batista, and Randy Orton all were vying for the championship. What made things interesting was that Batista was still a member of Evolution at the time, and this was just a couple weeks prior to him winning the Royal Rumble. Randy Orton, he had been excommunicated. He had been kicked out of Evolution back in September, actually back in August, late August, right after winning the world title from Chris Benoit. A month later, he defended the title against Triple H at Unforgiven 2004, lost the title, and at the time, my jaw just dropped. Like I just couldn't believe it. I was like, wait a minute. Here's a guy you're booking as your top face, and you take the title right off him just like that? But there was a method to Vince McMahon's madness, because his method was, you know what? We'll take the title off Randy Orton, and we'll lead up to Triple H versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania. That didn't quite happen, though. You see, Orton and Triple H actually faced each other at Royal Rumble 2005, which is one of their better pay-per-view matches. And surprisingly, these guys haven't had a lot of great matches. They've had some really good matches, but for whatever reason, you think they'd have some classics, and it just never came to be. But there were a few reasons as to why Randy Orton didn't end up getting that main event slot at WrestleMania 21. One, I think they saw Batista was getting over and had real potential. Two, Randy Orton's personal life was kind of a mess because this was at his wildest time when he was doing drugs and allegedly trashing hotel rooms and getting suspended and just misbehaving. And three, the way they booked him as a top babyface wasn't very sympathetic. In a way, he was still that arrogant heel that got all the girls and did the poses for way too long during his entrance, while just magically getting cheered by a few extra people. But he wasn't a real top babyface. He was a guy that just kind of sort of turned face just because his friends beat him up. But the crowd didn't really have a lot of sympathy for him, so he ended up turning heel down the road and feuded with The Undertaker all throughout 2005. And in this match, what was interesting was the storyline of Triple H and Batista, the main storyline, which would carry over to WrestleMania 21. And with Triple H and Batista, there was kind of a mutual understanding that, hey, you know what? Evolution's walking out with the championship. Well, it turned out Evolution did walk out with the championship, but it was Triple H. And Triple H actually had the opportunity to save Batista in the match when he was getting pinned, acted like he was hurt, and, well, Triple H became world champion again. Batista and Ric Flair celebrated with him, and Triple H begun kind of swaying Batista to not go for the world title. When Batista won the Royal Rumble in 2005, he said, "Hey man, go after JBL. JBL's talking all this crap about you." Until Batista discovered that Triple H was talking some junk about him. And for the whole time, for 2-3 months, they were just teasing Batista and Triple H having to end up feuding. They were teasing it. It was subtle. And I thought for the longest time, man, oh man, oh man, oh man, if only they did this with, Randy Orton and Roman Reigns, and kind of did like a slow burn type of deal, as opposed to just having these guys go on their own. I mean, with Randy Orton's babyface run at the beginning, he got kicked out, and yeah, there was not a lot of sympathy for him because again, he still acted like a heel, but he was a babyface, and there weren't any real teases of dissension prior to him getting kicked out of Evolution, although it was a memorable angle. In the case of Roman Reigns in 2014, Shield broke up. Seth Rollins attacked Dean Ambrose. He attacked Roman Reigns. And I just thought to myself, you know what? If they just replicated this Batista storyline with Triple H, with Roman Reigns in the Shield, and did a slow burn. Look, Roman Reigns is a big star present day, but I think he would have been an even bigger star had they decided, you know what? Let's do a slow burn of the Shield heel turn, and let's have the Shield turn on Roman Reigns and make or vice versa. Let's have them break up, and then you could do a big match at WrestleMania. That didn't happen. It is what it is, but WWE and a lot of the writers they have now could learn a whole lot by going back in time and watching how this Batista Triple H feud was booked, because it was nothing short of brilliant. As far as the undercard, this undercard, I'm telling you right now, was not much. It was just not much, because we had Muhammad Hassan defeat Jerry the King Lawler in a singles match. Not very good. Not very good at all. It went 10 minutes too long. Muhammad Hassan was this controversial Arab American / anti-American character. He was later taken off TV because WWE did an angle where he choked out The Undertaker on SmackDown the day of the 2005 London bombings, which was just preposterous. I can't believe they did that. To this day, I can't believe how insensitive they were with that. But, if you know the history of the company, it's nothing new. Shelton Benjamin defeated Maven to retain the WWE Intercontinental Championship. Shelton Benjamin, I think, one of the more criminally underrated mid-carders in WWE history. A guy who probably could have risen to a higher level. I'm not saying the guy could have been a true main eventer because he lacked mic skills and some charisma, but he was so talented in the ring that I thought, man, oh man, at the very least, the guy could have gotten some one-on-one title shots on occasion, been a strong upper mid-carder, and for a short time he was, but yeah, at the end of the day, though, at least he had some memorable performances in Money in the Bank. At least he was a really good, well-booked Intercontinental Champion for a time. And, what else can I say? As for Maven, well, his WWE run didn't last very long after that. He lasted till, really, I'd say close to the end of 2005. And he kind of just disappeared from wrestling. He did some stuff on the Home Shopping Network, and later just kind of faded into obscurity. Last time I checked, as of a year or two ago, he was working at a bouncer in some New York City clubs. Just kind of sad. Guy had some charisma. Guy had good mic skills, good look. Wasn't great in the ring by any means, but he was solid, and he showed some potential as a heel. I'm not really sure why they didn't let Shelton Benjamin and Maven loose in this match. Instead, it was Maven coming out, cutting a promo on the Puerto Rican crowd, getting pinned by Shelton in like a minute, and then restarting the match and getting pinned again. So this was a dud. Trish Stratus versus Lita for the Women's Championship was also surprisingly a dud. More so because poor Lita suffered an injury in the match. And Trish Stratus defeated her in less than 5 minutes to win the WWE Women's Championship again. But they later had a much more famous match in the main event of Raw. And for our opener, we had Eugene Dinsmore, a.k.a. Nick Dinsmore of OVW fame, and William Regal, who were the tag team champions at the time, defeating Christian and his bodyguard Tyson Tomko, who was a better worker, or eventually became a better worker than people give him credit for. Unfortunately, he didn't last very long because he was released by WWE, went to Japan, did his thing, had a nice run in TNA Impact Wrestling, and then I guess just demons kind of took over his life. From what I understand, present day, he seems to be in a better place, thank God, which is great, but He's a guy to me that if WWE kind of gave him a little bit more of an opportunity, if they gave him a little more rope, a little more slack, I think he could have been a bigger star for them, or somewhat of a star for them. But injuries, demons and outside circumstances seem to get the best of him. Although they didn't release him for that at the time. I think they just released him because they were just making a bunch of cuts. And in the mid-2000s, I mean, that was a sink or swim period. They were calling 1 million people up from WWE Developmental, OVW, HWA, Deep South Wrestling, and it was sink or swim. They'd give guys a little bit of leeway. If they didn't get over right away, whether their fault or not, and honestly, I'd probably say most of the time it wasn't their fault, they'd get cut or sent back to developmental or just buried and then get cut. It was a weird time. There was a lot of mid-card garbage back in that era. But folks, I want to hear from you. What did you think about New Year's Revolution 2005 if you watched it back in the day? Have you gone back and watched it on the network and DVD? Are you interested in watching it on the network or DVD? Let me know. Leave a comment below. Tweet us. Facebook us. Do what you got to do. If you enjoyed this review, please click the like button. Please share this with all your friends. And until next time, everybody, don't forget to subscribe to TSC News on YouTube, SoundCloud, and iTunes for more updates. Enjoy the matches.